Welcome to What Drives You, where we explore our human potential and seek the most efficient and effective personal growth methods and celebrate the miracle of just being alive. I'm your honored guide, Kevin Miller. In this episode, Living is Injury and How to Recover Better and Faster. Recovering from injury is a really popular topic, whether it's a broken bone, a soft tissue sprain, a pull, a tear, a severe illness, or a disease. Yet, as you'll hear in this episode, we hit on the reality that living itself is an aspect of injury. Every morning you wake up, hopefully having gotten quality sleep that was healing. And let's say you were to start at 100%, which is impossible, but whatever level you start out, from that point on, you are depleting yourself physically and mentally. You spend the day wearing down your resources, which is why by nighttime you're tired. And your body's saying, hey, I've used up enough resources. I need rest and recovery. I got to recharge. If you have a specific acute injury from an accident or an illness where your body is overly stressed, inflamed, your body needs even more recovery. So thus the things that we think to do to recover from, say, a big injury, they don't really differ from the things we want to address every day for our overall average recovery. It's a valuable paradigm shift to realize the reality of our existence as it pertains to our overall daily capacity and ability. Again, relies on our recovery. So I'm with Randy James, medical doctor and functional medicine expert, and we're going to talk about your health, which drives everything you do. You can find Randy, by the way, at truelifemedicine.com. And if you hear the message today, have questions or any ideas about it, your own experience, let me know. Email me, kmiller@kevinmiller.co. I saw a list in my inbox today of listeners responding. I'll get to those shortly, and I really appreciate engaging with you guys. What drives you, that becomes your reality. So let's create a better reality here today, right now. All right, drive with me a moment. Let's talk about recovery. So I had a member in my Driven to Live community ask you, how to get off Cymbalta. So Cymbalta is an
antidepressant or sometimes a medicine used for chronic pain.
So both. It's just how to get off. And she mentioned the dosage, which you said, that's fairly high, and responded back to her. And after you saying, so what started it? And she responded saying, man, I was going through a time I was crying at the drop of the hat and high anxiety and whatever, but how to get off it. That spawned us talking. So we're going to get there. We're going to get to meds, literally. We'll get to that. But up here, I asked you about it, and you started off at a high level saying, oh my gosh, well, you're talking about injury and recovery in a sense that she had an accident. Something brought her to that.
That's right. Now she could have had an acute injury. Her mom died. Her dog died. Right. Or she lost a job.
Right.
In emotional trauma. And we have to say at the outset, we're not minimizing anybody who's taking any of these medicines or anything. We're trying to describe it.
No, but I like you clarifying to say it is an injury. It's a deficit. It's a something that's not working correctly.
True? Yeah, I mean, if your mom dies, you should be sad.
Right.
But something in her accounting of life said, this is not right. I'm too sad. Or I'm too sad for too long. Or I'm so sad I can't even go to work. Right? So the level of...
Well, let's continue with your grace. In that if I come out genetically deficient, my upbringing gave me deficiency, and so a normal act of life like a death, which could be tragic, happened, and man, I just really don't have it within. Nothing against me. I may be a rock star, literally, on stage, making billions. I may be a Navy SEAL, and yet I still have less capacity than maybe I should, or maybe the norm, to deal with this appropriately. So to give everybody grace, on that, just like you can go eat nightshades and it's not a big deal, and even in all my Superman power, it
wrecks you.
It wrecks me. It's going to give me inflammation that puts my back out, and I can't move on there. So we all have whatever the thing is. So no guilt with it. But
She was not able to. So yeah, whether you have a broken arm, whether you have a tragedy, whether you have whatever. So let's get there. But I want to come back up to where you brought me, which was saying, and this was, an hour ago after or when we had lunch, my paraphrasing is saying, well, no, here's my muse. You're working out. Okay. Or I'm going to work out. So I'm deciding, man, I want to put some muscle weight on. I want to get stronger and more able. So I'm going to go to the gym or whatever. I'm going to lift weights. I didn't used to realize, when I was a kid, I just thought you lift weights to get stronger. And of course, with you say, no, while you're lifting, you're
tearing down,
getting weaker. Yeah. So I'm going in and lifting, bench pressing, let's say, all this weight to tear my muscles up, to damage and injure them so that they will build up. They'll go, holy crap, build up a little bit stronger. And then I let them recover, which is the key. Then they get a little stronger. Then I break them down again. They go back a little bit stronger. That's so elementary to you probably, but
it's not the way we think.
It's not the way I ever thought. As a cyclist, I thought I'm going to go out and ride 100 miles to get stronger. And then I often didn't recover and I didn't do well. And that's why my pro cycling career was so sporadic, because I wasn't putting the math together right. So here we are every day living life. So I'm going to go along today. We had a great morning coffee with the guys, and here I am at work. And if hopefully I'm going to work and exercise or whatever enough to stress myself a little bit, maybe tear things down a little bit so that I can recover, rebuild them, and be a little stronger and better.
That's right. And what we had talked about this morning is helping people to realize that not just Mrs. Smith over here and, oh, the poor soul has to take Cymbalta or Zoloft, or, oh, that poor guy has a headache and he needs some Motrin, or, oh, that poor guy broke his leg and he needs a crutch. Whoever's listening to us today, including me and you, need to realize that every second, every breath, every of your 10 trillion cells is going through this process right now, always. It is all, and this is called cellular respiration. We talk about respiration. If I say respire, what do you think?
Okay, yeah. Just take a deep breath automatically.
Yeah, that's everybody out there probably did. So, but cellular respiration basically means energy in, and then the cell does what it does. If it's a muscle cell, it muscles it. So energy in, and the cell does what it does, and it has to recover and waste out.
Okay.
Every single microsecond of your existence, and your eyeballs looking and your brain thinking and all of this is neurons doing this. But of course, we don't think about that. We just think, I got to go work out. I got to go do this. I got to go do that. And so we thought people need to be aware of this, and increasing the awareness of what is injury, what is recovery, what is a good medicine, what's a good crutch. Like,
right.
If your son came home and he was in a car wreck and he's walking in on crutches, you would never go, oh, son, Millers do not use crutches. Like, right. Oh, that's a crutch. You would say, okay, how can we get the best use of this crutch?
Physical therapy and whatnot. But then what you brought out is likewise. I'm not going to say, oh, you hurt your leg, you're on a crutch. Well, we'll just set you up to be on that crutch the rest of your life.
Yep. Welcome to American medicine.
Right. I knew.
We're going to get that crutch down as cheap as possible.
There you go. And again, this is going to be sensitive to some people out there. But let's take this lady who received this well. She ultimately said, yeah, I was at a bad place. I had let myself get to a bad place emotionally to where an injury happened. And you said viable.
Apply the medicine.
To take a crutch. Yeah. So she got on Cymbalta. And now she's saying she wants off. And your question was, what has she done in the meantime for PT?
That's right.
Physical.
If we look at the everybody knows musculoskeletal because we've all, stubbed our toe and tweaked a knee and done whatever. And we say, okay, take it easy for a while.
Yeah.
That's a form of crutch. That's change your activity. And then, but like in the military, the guy pulls a hamstring and we would do PT and whatever else. And you don't wait a week and say, okay, go out there and sprint. And you say, okay, go and jog one time around the track and then stop.
Yeah.
And then you do what I call this, and even with emotional medicines too, is you bridge the gap. So imagine that you're walking along in life and an injury happens, and it's kind of like you fall off a cliff and you're down in the weeds, you're in the muck, you're in the mud, and help comes along and puts a bridge over this rough patch so that you can get out of the mud. And she might have said the mud was, I was crying all the time. I couldn't get my thoughts together. The guy says, my leg hurts. I can't walk. And so he said, okay, use this medicine, use this crutch. You got out of surgery, use Percocet and morphine for a while. But imagine that you're on a bridge now, like the Golden Gate Bridge. You're crossing over from one side to the other. While you're on the bridge, you've got to be preparing to come off the bridge.
Yeah.
If you're not preparing to come off the bridge, then by definition, Mrs. Cymbalta lady, you are and you have been preparing to stay on Cymbalta.
Which, okay, so you brought me back to even before that. You know, I want to look at, and we talk about this a lot, but I want to, it's relevant here to look at what am I doing, what are we doing today so that we have a better chance of resilience when that injury hits. So I can be proactive right now. So right now, and this sounds morbid, I have 9 kids and now grandkids. What are the chances
Did you get a vasectomy?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. James, for snipping me. And my kids still can't get over that. Really, Randy's your best friend, and he gave you a vasectomy. That's disgusting. Well, who else? I'm going to pick a stranger? Hey, you. Cut me. Okay. Yes. Not yet. But the chances of me experiencing tragedy, the death of a child, I remember my grandfather weeping and saying nobody should ever have to experience the death of one of their children. Yeah. I'll never forget that because I thought, man, my chances are higher. It sounds terrible. It's not negative thinking. It's just realistic thinking. And what am I doing now to prepare myself to be resilient so I can have that and not have PTSD, but PTSG, post-traumatic growth, you know? And again, that's something I can do, though I could still have that tragedy happen and go downhill. That is, I haven't had it happen. I haven't been there. I can't say, and I may go off the deep end and come to you and go, dude, I need help. I need a crutch. I cannot get past the death of my kid, which that may literally happen. That could happen tomorrow. And that could literally, I cannot guarantee that I'm going to be Mr. Resilient like I'd like to be. And I need that crutch. So you're going to do that. You're going to prescribe X, Y, Z, but you're also, as who you are, would be saying, okay, buddy, as my friend as well, saying, what are you going to do now? Here's your prescription, but what can we get you started doing now so that you can come off of this?
So this is, and I'm glad we're talking about it because this is an everyday question in the clinic. And I would say, Kevin, your parents are going to die.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
So, and your cat's going to die and we hope, it's rational to hope that you would die before your kids, but people are going to die. And so what are you doing to become the kind of person who, when your parents die, you go through healthy grief and bereavement? And you are doing things. I don't
know why we're using a theoretical, because as we both know,
it's not theoretical.
No. I'm bringing it back to what it's not.
Yeah.
It's me 4 or 5 years ago now. I came to you saying,
asking
dude,
about the medicine?
Yeah. I'm going to wig out here. And so I was doing some stuff on my personal life and said, I'm losing it, man. I came to, and it was finally me coming to the end of my living in the whitewater of stress and anxiety and go and not recovering.
Right.
And you prescribed something to me. The medication in and of itself didn't really do anything, but the event helped you come and say, dude, this is not going well. What are you going to do?
As near as I can recall, we had that same question about, hey, you're in a rough patch. Here's a bridge. Yeah. Don't think badly about a crutch. I like using the word crutch because in one sense, it's super negative. But over here, if you broke your leg, well, of course you need a crutch. Like it's super
negative
positive.
Psychologically, when we talk about it in those terms, it's not so much
right, like the crutch of alcohol or the crutch of whatever.
But if I get injured physically out on a mountain bike ride, which I recently did that too, that's cool. I get a crutch, but with the expectation is I'm going to be back, which I am. So I did that. I had which I also want to bring about, on the injury standpoint, there are the self-inflicted ones, which we would say is good. We talk about that frequently, the good stress. So the good stress, right before here, you're on the walker over here doing dips. Yeah. I've been gingerly doing push-ups today, trying to get past this rib injury that I got. And those are self-inflicted stressors and injuries, just like we talked about with working out. Now, my wreck on the mountain bike was not intended. That was an injury that I was a victim of, if we want to say, victim of my own bad maneuvering. And that happened to me. Either way, both are injuries, and both I've then got to work to recover. Not because if we come back to where we started with this, like the emotional thing, so many of these things is the result of, mine was the result of day in and day out, little injuries that I was not recovering from.
Right.
And then finally the day came and my body said, I got nothing left. And boom, it seems like I dropped off a cliff. And it's kind of like the overnight success. It took 20 years. Here's the overnight injury that I'd built up.
It also took 20 years, right?
Or built up, or I had, weakened.
Built down.
Built down, yeah.
Right? I mean, I always go back to the straws on the camel's back. Which straw broke the camel's back?
And you say all
of them over
yeah.
decades of time, all the time. But the camel is surprised at the final crack.
Sure.
Holy cow, what was the last straw that just tipped me over? Oh, it was that job, stress, my parent died, my 1,000 other million things. And what we're doing is saying, and even now you post, break a rib on the mountain bike thing, we could say, well, thank goodness you were as trained up as you were, because you could have been even worse.
I think that's why my recovery is quick, thank goodness, because I'm in a really good place psychologically and physiologically. So,
and I would say, and you're not aiming at the Olympics, and so it's not like we're going to increase your training or do something else. It's just getting you back to athletically. You're a pretty maintenance kind of a guy. You're doing your thing, and there's no real reason to increase. And it is a piece of what is keeping you and preparing you for another wreck in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And that we do think that way as Americans when it comes to physical, musculoskeletal kind of things, but we do not think that way when it comes to the stress of food. Mm-hmm. The stress of every breath you take has pollutants and environmental things, and you can't strain everything. You can't breathe sterile air, but after you breathe in, you breathe out. And there you can. So we have done a show and we've talked about breath. You can do some breath work to be becoming a better breather, to be becoming a better detoxer, a better muscler. and I think that would carry over into how you do your marriage and do your fatherhood, and all of these things is thinking about both sides, the stress or the trauma, or maybe the bad, but I just wouldn't call them bad. I would just say, your wreck was a wreck. Mm-hmm. Call it fate, call it whatever. And you respond.
Yeah, it's statistically, if I'm out there mountain biking 3-4 times a week, I'm going to have, it's amazing I haven't had a bad one in this long, actually. We're right, still amidst, will we ever not be amidst COVID now? I don't know. It seems like a forever.
It's worse now.
Yeah. And here we are with back you talking about breath, breathing in, breathing out. And here I am again, trying to live my strong, resilient life. Again, we're back to this where we started with injury recovery, that we are always, you've helped teach me this. Every day, I am fighting such a bad word. I am
contending, striving?
Yeah, contending maybe with allergies, with COVID, with stress, with anxiety, with worry, with fear. These are all the negative things, but the things that I'm liable are liabilities.
Yeah. Deficits, straws on your back.
So I'm doing that. And sometimes I'm going to get those things. And then what am I doing to realizing that I have to recover? We're back to that.
Yeah.
I have to recover. And every day, and this comes back to the lady on Cymbalta, she had been at a place just like I had of an injury, a deficit, and not recovering from it. And that went on and on and on and on. And
right.
then boom, she has to get on this thing. So now she's not only trying to get back to where she was, she's trying to get better.
Right. And this is kind of so we have talked about these ideas before, and now we're kind of getting into the crux of, okay, everybody out there is on a medicine. Everybody has taken Motrin for a headache or caffeine for a slow morning. Everybody is on that kind of medicine. And Cymbalta and all of the psychiatric meds are hard to get off of. And I think here's why. When she got put on the medicine, and let's say it was the normal dose, and it still wasn't helping, she got on the bigger dose. Okay, well, I'm feeling a little bit more stable, a little bit better. But at that, she's barely hanging back onto her normal amount of stress and life. And the doctors don't teach people to say, okay, look, now you've got a crutch. So let's go back over here to musculoskeletal.
Mm-hmm.
you are on a crutch. That means you're not ready for walking. So let's say it's non-weight bearing. Get off of your knee. Zero weight bearing. That's really hard to do. But even for the non-weight bearing guy, we'd say, okay, 3 times a day, you've got to do a full range of motion. You got to sit down and get on your back and do your bicycles, or otherwise you'll freeze, a frozen joint, right? Like you're getting worse as you're trying to get better. And that's where so many people, they stay in the job they hate. They stay in the relationships that aren't going in the right direction, or they don't work on the relationship, and they just...
Or even not a non-environmental where there's been times when what's the environmental cause for this stress, fear, anxiety, worry? Sometimes we don't know.
You might not know.
We don't. It's just something that's been eating at me. It may be something that was part of my childhood that for whatever reason, I'm not even aware of, it starts gnawing at us. We see that more and more, people in middle age, and things come up emotionally that they can't really point to and say, how do I take that away? I don't know, but you need to...
And that's where I'd say the mystery of the human condition is infinite.
Right.
Because it could have been the power plant up the road started using a different kind of coal, and the outgassing whatever is affecting Kevin Miller. Like that's a straw on your back. And my point there is to don't get lost or wrapped up around the axle of trying to find the molecule that's tipping you over. Yes, of course. And we say, sugar, alcohol, smoking, these are the big ones. I hate my job, whatever. Mostly it's be aware of the complexity of all of this. And I think the other thing is be aware of the recovery. Give the camel what the camel needs to withstand the straws on the camel's back. Because you can't give away your wife, you can't give away your kid, you can't give away your job, you can't just walk away from these big straws.
Yeah.
You can give your camel some more sleep, nutrition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the hard job of being a human being, of managing that and figuring that out, contending and wrestling with how do I sustain my camel? How do I carry the load that I really believe in, and I want to carry the load of family and fatherhood and work and mission and all these things? Okay, so and then you and I get the questions from Mrs. Cimbalta that says, how do I get off this thing? I am stuck. If I just miss a day, I'm a basket case. And I would tell her, you're in the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge. You just jumped off.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to hurt. You've got to do the work of planning on transitioning from bridge to hard land over there. And it's going to be these other kind of things.
Well, and she did say, life has changed. I'm past that, whatever. And then your the counsel, you can't give direct counsel, but you gave it. And so through me, it was, chances are, like with anything, even like a literal physical crutch, you don't just all of a sudden one day throw it out and start running.
Right.
It's
weaning it off and building up the stress muscle.
No different than that. So I hurt my ribs, and the first day I'm just trying to actually get out of bed.
Right.
And
then, not to sneeze.
Yeah. And then I try, let days go by, and then it's, can I hang from the bar, much less pull up? And I couldn't. That was a no go. Can I do a narrow push up? I actually could do it a little bit. I couldn't do a whole lot. Yeah. I can do dips. I can do dips, but then I lay down in bed, man, and it hurts. And then when I roll over at night, just because of my normal habit of rolling over my side, oh man, it gets me. So it's, but again, little by little, and at some point now I'll be past it and I'll forget about it. Yep. Even though at this moment when you're in it, it's a couple of days of being injured and you feel like I can't imagine being injury free. It's so overwhelming. It's amazing how quick
it is. My family's been sick for a month. It's the same thing when you're sick. I can't imagine being well again.
Yeah.
And when I'm well, I can't imagine being sick. And I do think that spiritually, this is why we get sick. There is a lesson.
Well, and the body adapts. You keep telling, you've always told me the body adapts. So if today it's sick, it just kind of envelops itself around, okay, you're sick. And this is how things happen, and here's where you need to watch out, whatever, and you're just fully sick. And then when you recover, our minds are amazing at adapting.
Yes. Yeah. That resilience, recovery, restoration, relaxation, remembering, all of the rewords is where I think we just happen to live in a culture where we have a whole lot of triggering, a whole lot of straws. And because our camels' backs have been relatively successfully good, for so long and in different environments. Like in the past, our forebears did not have to think about some of these other things because it was all about put food on the table. Well, food on the table is darn easy these days. So I think about all these other things.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge is, okay, how do we manifest fake strivings like fasting, right? Like I don't have to fast, so why do I need to?
Oh, so we have to like artificially.
We have to artificially put in these stressors.
Yeah.
Which means that my mind is taken out, or my mind is put into it a different way.
Right.
It used to be that nature fasted me.
I was going to say, so I'm sitting here exercising and I'm artificially doing that, whereas my grandfather didn't. His whole day was exercise. He's just looking for recovery, and we're doing it. You said something though that, I mean, you told me this long ago, because of course my thought was, okay, so whatever injury is, you are tasked to get past it. If you're on a drug, you get off of it. If you're on a crutch, you get off of it. And of course you said, hey, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you are broken. And I was thinking about a patient that you have who's the uncle of a past employee, just to keep him anonymous, who had a physical injury, who he's had for how long? 10 years, 20 years? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Wasn't that a physical, like a back injury or something?
Yeah, from back in his 20s.
And so, okay, so that's longer than that, so 30 plus
decades.
years. So a physical injury he has never gotten past. It was so bad. Now, he's far better. Is that fair? I mean, he's gotten better.
He is still significantly limited.
Is he really? So he's injured that. So, okay, because I wanted to say the same thing on the mental side. Can you have, a deficit that goes so deep, that breaks you so much that you get on a Cymbalta or whatever, and you're going to, thank God, you would say, thank God for that medication.
Yeah.
That can help you.
Well, the better analogy is not that particular gentleman, but anybody who got in a car wreck and they didn't come out with a crutch, they came out without a leg.
Oh, okay.
Sure. You would say, thank God for wheelchairs.
Chronic pain, I mean, that you're never going to get past. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the wheelchair is just static. Like, oh gosh, I'm so grateful I can get myself around to some degree.
Yeah.
And that person is never going to, now they might lament, oh my gosh, I can't run, I can't do. And we would all lament with him. But there's a click over, like, I'm not going to sit around and wish for my legs. I'm just going to get on with my life in a wheelchair. Okay.
This is you're making me think of Eric Weinmayer, who I had on a show, and the guy's, gosh, I don't know, he was 6, 8, 11, I can't remember, has some degenerative eye disease and loses his sight, 100%, dude, stone cold blind, and this again, this sounds like a minimizing thing, but he went all along, and he can't change that. I mean, that is gone. He cannot change that, and he's decided he wanted to hike Mount Everest and canoe the whatever river goes through the Grand Canyon, Colorado. Yeah. And he's done some of those things. Now he's done those too, and he has not had the joy that you and I would have with the visual.
Well, maybe not.
Well, I didn't say he didn't have equal or better joy, but he didn't to the visual experience of it. I mean, he didn't get on top of Mount Everest and get to look around.
He gets to look around. Right.
So there's a brokenness that he's not going to overcome.
But through his mind and his experience of joy and all that could have been surpassing.
Could have been better joy than we had, which, so to come back here to looking at the levels of brokenness and not minimizing anybody's, I have through you kind of found grace with those injuries. And the hope and expectation that we can be better. So wherever anybody is at the depth of their injury, that there is hope for recovery to some degree. It may not be complete eradication of that crutch.
That's true.
Can we minimize it? Can we flourish outside of that? And what are the things to do? And then we come back to the stuff. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there will come an injury that you will not recover from, and you get to blessedly go away.
I really don't want that day to happen, but I'm aware that it will.
It will.
It will. It could be tomorrow, and hopefully it won't be till I'm past 90. But at some point, it is daunting to look at, because I do not want immobility, disability, incapacity, but I know that I can't do what I do now forever.
That's right.
Which is still hard to see because right now I feel as fully capable. I mean, maybe not at pro cycling level, but man,
You're capable to the level you want to be capable of.
But someday I'm not.
You will not be. And for you, that's particularly galling because of the way you are, and that's okay. And I was going down that pathway to say that there are lots of people out there listening to this who are on a blood pressure medicine, cholesterol medicine, depression, anxiety medicine. I'd say that's the top.
Pain med. What's the opioid?
The narcotic situation. That's right. People who are on narcotics always kind of say, I wish I could get off of that. But people who are taking blood pressure and cholesterol medicines aren't generally taught that they could get off of that. And I would say you should strive to. And at the same time, you should give a reasonable trial to a significant striving to and give everybody a chance. And if you can't, then you can't. And be okay with it.
Well, and the other thing this belies, I don't know if that's the right word, but is the motive.
Yeah.
Because I've often thought, I was actually talking to a daughter yesterday because she got new glasses or whatever. So I'm 50, I just turned 51. I've got, last time I had my eyes tested, one was better than 20 and one was barely off. So, I mean, my vision's just excellent. And I am so sensitive to that. And I told her, man, if anything goes wrong, I'll spend any amount of money to fix that. I want to be, again, do everything I can to be at the highest level. And even if I need a crutch, and if I have a bad injury that I'm not getting past, I'm going to use whatever crutches to be able to perform at the highest level that I want to. But even that is there. It may be better health-wise overall to minimize my performance and not be on that crutch and be okay with a lesser activity. So we're still balancing what is your goal.
Yeah. And that is a daily conversation in the clinic. And I'm always saying to the patient, I work for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to run a 4-minute mile? Even if you have to take speed and Ritalin and cocaine afterwards to do it? That's doping in the Olympics, right? I want to win so badly, I'm going to run the risk of doping.
And that's why I'm just doing this for candor, because if we came along and I had an injury to some degree and came to you and said, dude, you could probably not take one, but you're going to need to stay at this level of activity.
You have to take it down a notch.
I would say, how about that prescription, Dr.
Work
James?
your way back over.
Yeah. And then you're saying, okay, but if you're going to take that, here's the side effects.
Yeah.
I have to weigh that.
It will cost you money. It will cost you a potential side effect. And like Cymbalta, if you're a regular human being, it's hard to get off crutches because crutches are crutches.
Okay, we'll talk about side effect real quick. So like for her, she wants off that. Why?
Well, I don't know. Like her response might be different than somebody else's, but most of the people who are on those kind of medicines are like, it's a psychiatric medicine still. You would like to be yourself. Many of those medicines, people say, I feel a little tired, I feel a little off, I feel a little... Remember, side effects don't happen all that often. Right? Like, I always go back to the car. We don't walk around talking about car wrecks all day long, but there's 40,000+ deaths a year in America from car wrecks.
Okay, well, I'm fishing for something. You're not giving it to me. Is there any reason she should get off Cymbalta? Then if she's doing okay, then why get off
we're
it?
back to maybe not. It's going to go back to her motivation, her life, maybe she would say, well, it just makes me feel bad. I feel weak. If I can get off a crutch, I want to get off a crutch.
Because you said something that threw me sideways a little bit about not having side effects. My understanding was, especially when you get into the stress, what are we saying? The serotonin uptake inhibitors.
Yeah,
is that
serotonin,
what it is?
yeah.
Yeah. That with those, you generally are going to have some side effects. No?
No.
Okay.
I mean, maybe not, but they're generally, that's where I was speaking. The psychiatric meds, there's a common, I don't feel quite right, I would say, I feel spacey, I feel off, I feel...
Okay, so am I missing the point? It's not that the medication in and of itself is causing me a detriment, but if I still need the medication, there's still the underlying root that probably has other consequences,
and again,
like high blood pressure.
Or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, but if I need high blood pressure medication and I've got it, maybe the medication, I think that's where I've been wrong. Is it's not causing me a bad side effect, but if I still need it, you're saying something in you
else is that's right.
Causing
something else is failing
pressure.
is creating injury along our topic of today.
Injury that your body's not
and every
healing
day
on its own.
That's right. You got to put in a beta blocker, a calcium channel blocker, or a whatever. And in America, son of a gun, when you look at $1 billion randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial, you have less chance of heart attack, stroke, right? Like that's what drives American medicine. Well, I don't want a heart attack or stroke, so I better take these pills. Okay. You're more likely to not have a heart attack or stroke earlier, but is it helping your motive? Is it helping you get to true life? Are you become it? And to the extent that you're not having a heart attack and a stroke on those days, yes, it is helping you be a dad because you're not dead.
It calls into question again your goals, your motives, and even your faith. We're almost hitting that because right now I'm tending to look at my biomarkers, which are every day we're seeing those increase. I mean, who knows what you and I will be wearing and measuring 12 months from now that is showcasing our daily stress recovery. I mean, I'm wearing a expensive Garmin watch and it shows me some. I can watch trends. I don't know that the accuracy is great, but when I finish a run, it'll tell me, hey, you did this effort, this kind of stress. You probably need 12 hours of recovery. Interestingly, the past 2 days of exercising post my injury, I ran and I rode pretty moderately, and both times it said I needed up to 50 to 60 hours of recovery.
Wow.
I think it's sensing because I got bruising and problems elsewhere from the overall wreck. So we're going to be seeing it, and I want my measurements great. I want my telomeres at a good measurement. I want my carotid artery with, not showing plaque. I want my heart rate variability, my resting heart rate, my sleep score is good. To what end? Because we have a buddy who would say, yeah, is it, so what?
Right.
And we don't know. It's faith. It's based on faith that I will not only feel good today, but somebody could be eating McDonald's and feel good today. Yeah. Okay. It's for that long-term thing that, again, is not a guarantee. I may get cancer or dementia in the next 5 years. It's not a guarantee against it. It's a probability to help.
Yes. And I would say even more acutely that the way you feel about yourself tomorrow is going to be better if you've ran today, regardless of what your watch tells you about that.
That's absolute truth. I mean, so half of my stuff of running and even looking at my measurements, if somebody said it's all a facade, at this point,
you would still do it because you feel better about yourself doing it.
And we did a show, I don't know what number it is, on the placebo effect.
Yeah.
And if I boiled it down, it would be saying, hey, if the placebo helps, who cares if it's a placebo or not? So what if my exercise is a placebo?
Yeah.
All right. If
I'm choosing to take the placebo.
Yeah.
Which also works.
Yeah.
They did a study and they told the people, okay, now this is a placebo, but studies have been shown that this placebo, if you take this pill every day, your blood pressure will come down. But it's a placebo.
Really? Wow.
And the people took the placebo knowing it's a placebo.
Why is that disappointing? It shouldn't be, I guess, but
it's the remarkable power.
Let's say that.
The brain.
Okay, let's say the power of the brain. Because I was thinking mind games. That's so frustrating because we all want to think that 1 + 1 = 2, and it's just cause and effect. And we're so much of it. Because to that degree, if I could get the same placebo out effect by hitting myself in the head with a stick 10 times a day, and I feel great about it, and it helps my self-image, you would say, well, literally, knock yourself out. Yeah.
There is also the nocebo effect of, if I give you this pill and I tell you this will make you feel bad. Now it's a nocebo. So there's nothing in it, but it'll make you feel bad if you take this. Mm-hmm. And your brain thinks, I'm going to take this and feel bad. The likelihood of truth.
Which brings us into the medications. I mean, I got this is the end of the year in 2021. And from the things that you participate in, if you do like I am, they give you the end of the year stats. So I got my end of the year stats from Spotify. I listen to music. And it was something like, if I can remember the math right, I listened this year to like 181,000 hours. It's like over 5 hours a day of music. That's something, that's a mind game. That's something that I do. I put music on. I change the genre. I'm very eclectic to help just inspire me. I mean, that's what I use music for, to inspire me. It is a mind game. I mean, why couldn't it be? I mean, I think we go out and sit in the deck and look at Pikes Peak that Eric Weinmayer can't even see. And we're doing that to work on our heads. I mean, we are doing so many things that are placebos to a degree. Is what my point was.
Yes, and it's unfortunate that most Americans will hear that word placebo as a negative thing, meaning it's not real or it's mostly nothing. What I think what you and I, where we are coming to in our older age is it's realer than real. Your mind games are more real.
I wasn't saying I wasn't saying it to minimize it. I was saying it to elevate it.
That's what I mean. That the be becoming idea of the reality of the fact that if we pulled atoms off of your body and we analyzed them, that you are 99.9% air, not space, not air, but space. How in the world can it matter what you think about something as to the reality of how you feel or perform or get a biomarker?
Yeah.
Bone density, lean muscle mass, real things. And I mention those because we might have said in the past that, studies have been shown that if you think about lifting weights, you will gain lean muscle mass. That blows me away. And it's been proven time and time and time again, compared to somebody else who doesn't think about it, compared to somebody else who actually lifts the weights. If you think about lifting, your muscles will respond as if they have lifted.
That's nuts.
That is nuts. But if it is indeed true, which it certainly looks like it,
yeah.
And so is the theory of relativity, right? Like everybody can say the words, time and space are malleable, they bend, but we can't live that way.
Yeah.
Right? Like Star Wars and all that notwithstanding, we cannot live that way. But it is true even within ourselves when you get to subatomic particles. That's what we're talking about. So I say all that to be becoming an older, wiser person that says, wow, therefore, and here I'm looking at Kevin and Randy, I am going to endeavor to meditate.
Okay. Yes. And yes, to meditate and do those things. But even there, we're still talking about mind games. So I'm thinking about, you called her Mrs. Cymbalta. Let's go there. So this is a mental issue that she's dealing with. How cool would it be? And I'm sure this exists and you may know about it to some degree, but imagine as time goes on, if we could lay her down or sit her down and put electrodes on her head and just show images, videos, whatever, and look at her reactions and take all the negatives and list them out. These are the things that take Miss Cymbalta and just lower her, inspiration,
her energy level, her chemistries, right? Her serotonins and epinephrines.
I'm thinking about like cellular activity, man. And this thing is wrecking them. And now these images over here of X, Y, Z, and we come out kind of like a food test. Kind of like I mean, so we do a food test with you, do a food test with me, totally different. And mine showcase that, lentils and green beans and eggs and nightshades they bother me. Yeah. Don't know why. Doesn't matter. They just do. They don't you. And so those are going to be on my naughty list. Yep. And the things that help me are X, Y, Z. The same thing with the mental aspects. Imagine having that list and saying, okay, on a given day, let's keep track of these things. Let's make sure that Kevin gets, or Miss Cymbalta gets, a steady diet every hour or whatever. She's getting a shot of this, a vision of this, a video of this, a listen to this, a taste of this.
Why not let her, and now I'm going to take it away from her, why not let the human just do that in their own brain?
Well, okay, sure. I was trying to make it easy. We'd all love a test that just says, hey, this is it. But for me, it would be exercise, go outside, see the sunshine, listen to some jazz or some rock or whatever is in the moment. Get to talk about an idea like this with Randy. Mm-hmm. Jump on the trampoline with my kids and laugh. Eat something taste some really good chocolate like we just did. Whatever that I'm giving myself that diet, and that one thing, like to go out in the 2 hour ride for me on somebody else's list when they've got the electrodes hooked up and they show the 2-hour ride,
Torture.
it's tragedy.
Yeah.
Like the guy you asked about fasting, and Randy gets excited and he said, terror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not talking rights and wrongs. And I was kind of doing this to back off even the things that we would say probability wise are good for you. Like you should meditate, you should exercise, you should whatever. Because you've had some patients and you should exercise. And if it gives them a panic attack, okay, no. Don't exercise.
Don't
We'll
exercise.
look at something else.
Like the don't quit smoking guy.
Yeah.
Like you'll kill your wife. So please keep smoking.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a while. And I'm tracking with you. And that's where I think the negative side of that, people are going to use the truth of what you just said to justify never exercising forever.
Okay. Right.
And that we're back to mind games, right? Like it's who do you want to be becoming? What? Because you can justify. And we live in a culture that has justified a whole heck of a lot of not so great things. For the sake of, well, everybody has to have a vice, or it's not like I'm doing cocaine, but it's just McDonald's, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're back to the mind of free will, agency, choice of what am I putting in?
Yeah.
How am I choosing to set up rhythm and recover? Knowing that there's a time and a place for Cymbalta and crutches and chocolate. Yeah. And I think there's a time and a place not for torture, but for pain.
Well, and I want to clarify, or not clarify, but just affirm what you just said, because if we looked and said, hey, let's test music on Kevin, and we play this music and it inspires him, jazz, and we play, I don't know, heavy metal, or not, let's not use one. We play classical music and he doesn't like that. Okay, well, there we got that. But that's benign. Who cares? But if I get a negative response from exercise, you're going to say, okay, but we need to work on that one, because exercise actually is something that's good for you. So how can we get your mind in a positive state around some level of exercise?
Yes.
Is that a fair analogy?
Yeah. That's a fair kind of analogy, because we live in a world that has put exercise over here in the category of what kind of music do you listen to, as if it really doesn't matter.
I hadn't thought about it that way. You're right.
And same with
or
food.
even, I was going to say, even eating healthy. Like, you're one of those healthy eaters. I'm just not, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I take some Crestor just so that I can. Remember that one guy? He said, "Yeah, I take all these medicines so that I can go and eat this way." Yeah. Oh, okay.
You can do meds to keep you sleeping 5 hours a night and existing at some level.
Yeah, and take some caffeine and 5-hour energy in the morning, and you're going to be awake. But on 5 hours a night, you're going to get tired over time faster.
I read a book, and granted, it was I'm reading a fiction book that I really enjoy, but it was written in the 1980s, early 90s or something like that. And the lead character,
Is it the Pike dude?
Yeah.
I got the first one.
Did you? Okay. Well, so I dig it. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest, maybe the only drawback of it is it habitually showcases him not sleeping.
Yeah, because in that world it's cool.
He's the tough guy. Yeah, I've got insomnia because my brain's so crazy cool, and I'm out there, so I go run at 3 a.m. in the city. Yeah, and I
get my inspiration.
And they're literally talking like minutes of sleep a night, and then really he's supposed to be critically thinking and saving the world. That doesn't pan out. I mean, even with the Navy SEALs, they train to be able to perform at a high level if there is a lack of sleep. But that's not their norm. They're looking for the opportunity to then have massive recovery.
And there's no Navy SEALs that are over 40.
Well, that's true too.
Right? Like you get 10, 20 years of this and they're going to kick you out.
That's
true. You are not.
Or you could say that for military in general. And sometimes I wonder about what's sleep alone.
Well, what's the worst profession?
Medical.
Where everybody brags for for med
24-hour shifts in the ER.
Yeah. And you're going to be doing surgery and making decisions.
On the 23rd hour, I'll pass.
You're right.
Yeah.
It goes on today.
Can you imagine doing that? Like sending everybody who's in there. If you go to the ER, of course, you're not, beggars can't be, but to imagine saying that, hey, doc.
How many hours? What hour of awakeness are you
Well,
on?
you know what we should get to is, hey, doc, let me see your score.
Let me see your Garmin. I'm calling my lawyer. I'm going to upload.
Hey, goodness, we're getting this. I mean, because don't you have to do some of that to that degree in
pilot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Talking to Dustin.
They're going to see if you're sober. I was thinking about that. They had the movie Flight with Denzel Washington on sobriety, but I think you have to.
Yeah, and the truckers.
Truckers with sleep. Yeah, you can only log so many hours.
Meanwhile, you got the brain surgeon surgeon over here
who's no
winging it.
accountability.
No accountability.
Wow.
That's part of that book I'm reading now about that guy calls it professional sovereignty. We manage ourselves. Nobody can tell us what to do. And here we are. The American profession of medicine is the number one gross domestic product. We spend the most money in this area over here, and some of the stupidest ideas ever.
It's just it is. Well, medical is so far behind most everything else. So we're talking right there again about injury and recovery. That, and you said to this to some degree, it sounds negative, but life is every day. Life is injury.
Yeah.
And then recovery. We get to the end of the day. So yesterday we stayed up later, and it was, I don't know, 10:30, might even been close to 11. I was injured. I could not keep my eyes open. My body was saying, "You're injured."
You needed an eye crutch.
Yeah, I was about ready watching The Hobbit to need an eye crutch, and I'm going to go to bed, and then I'm going to get up in the morning. For me, I'm going to look and see how was my sleep, not just the amount of time. It was about, I still got, because kids didn't go to school on the same schedule, so I got like 7 hours and 46 minutes. But then looking at how much
the deep
and the sleep, REM, light, and isn't there another one? Oh, just awake.
And
how much awake time, which did you get up to pee, did you get up to whatever, and how am I recovering? And of course, you generally tell in the morning. And if I'm so sensitive to that, am I the guy going, oh, and just can't keep up? I want to show up. We had our guys thing. I want to show up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
That's an everyday conversation.
Yeah.
In the clinic, because everybody talks about energy.
Yeah.
And what they don't say this, but what I'm thinking as what they're meaning is my injury and recovery is off.
I just hadn't thought about it that's why I love this perspective.
Yeah. And that's what, as we wind up, that's what I hope people take away is being aware, because everybody has a thought on the medicines I take, the fatigue I feel, am I who I want to be, but not ever thinking about, gosh, everything around me is a form of injury, is a straw in my back. And to hold that straw, I have to give my body recovery. And so with awareness, how are you going to go about doing that?
Okay, that was a great ending point, but I can't, because I was also thinking about the benefit. I want to put the positive in there, that in the day of injury, which I can't to some degree, like with wake time, I can't not have that. My body is using
Wakeness is injury.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, if I have a bad incident today, relationally or whatever, a bad incident that's going to increase injury, I can be aware of that. That's like what my Garmin tells me on this ride taxed you extra. You need extra recovery time. How cool is that? How great would it be if I paid attention to that and said, man, you had a really hard conversation with your spouse, or you had a financial hit and lost your job or your business. You just got extra injured. You're going to need to cater
recover.
Have
a kind of a crutch.
Okay, now I wanted to go to the other side too of thinking about what about bolstering that? What if I get a shot of inspiration and somebody calls and says, you've been awarded the Bill Gates Foundational Trust. You get $10 million in your bank. I just got a hit. Doesn't mean I don't need to sleep tonight, but for my psyche, I just got to, when you get proposed to, when you get, how many things that we can look at that were, is inspiration, is there a better word that inspires us that you would say, ooh, that's a hit to the positive. That's a help to your injury or your resilience.
You're highlighting the lifetime events, marriage, inspiration moments. And I would say, those are there, but you just took a drink of water.
Yeah.
That's
because I had the injury of
thirst
and dehydration. And okay.
Right. So we're built on the bothness of both of these.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is I want to be able to see, I want to be prepared for the catastrophe. Yeah. Somebody died. And I want to be prepared for Bill Gates calling me up and saying, hey, here's 10 million. We like what you're doing. And then use that towards the next thing.
Well, friends, thanks for joining me on this journey talking about recovery. Again, you can always find Randy James at truelifemedicine.com. It's always a gift to connect with those of you who become patients, clients of his. And if you come out to Colorado, I get to see you, meet with you, maybe have some coffee. Again, you can find him truelifemedicine.com. And as always, get questions, thoughts, about what we shared today, let me know. Email me at kmiller@kevinmiller.co. I hope this episode overall helps you drive further and most of all, enjoy your ride. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. I look forward to meeting you in the Drive Tribe community for ongoing discussions about each episode. You can subscribe to the Drive Drop newsletter for weekly updates. Find it all at kevinmiller.co, along with all our social media and video clips. Until next time, I hope this episode helps you drive further and enjoy the ride.